On Friday, we previewed that a decision like this would be coming this week, and it seems like some of the details have started to emerge. What can you tell us?
As you said in your introduction, the Biden administration looks to be going to come out with an announcement tomorrow, I guess so late Tuesday China time, on increasing tariffs on Chinese EVs and on other industrial goods. Steel and aluminium is definitely going to see a tariff increase. It's unclear what other goods specifically are going to be tariffed at this point, but the aim of this is the stated aim of this is to stop a flood of Chinese EVs from coming into the US market. And there's also trying to,
Yeah.
obviously the Biden administration is trying to develop an EV sector and a solar panel manufacturing sector. And they're trying to protect US companies from, the much cheaper goods of those that China can make and sell.
I was reading a report from Bloomberg over the weekend suggesting that a lot of this move actually is symbolic, namely because in reality, not that many Chinese electric vehicles are imported into the US. So how do we read this decision from the Biden administration, given that on the ground, economically, it probably won't make that much of a difference?
I think that's definitely the case on EVs. I think one of my colleagues said that only 1% of US EV imports are actually from China. So basically, they're tariffing a good that the US doesn't buy from China. And even without these tariffs, the Commerce Department now has an investigation into what they're calling connected vehicles, which is aiming to stop electric vehicles from China from coming into the US market as well. So the tariffs, I think, on EVs specifically aren't really meaningful in an economic sense. What is more interesting, I think, is that you're also looking at tariffs on batteries, and the U.S. has been a big buyer of Chinese car batteries for electric vehicles. More than $1 billion of those purchases each month for the last, I think, for more than a year now. So demand for those seems to be slowing in the US as EVs haven't taken off as fast as possible. But if the Biden administration does bring in tariffs on Chinese battery exports, I think that's actually going to be quite significant. The problem is that there's no other country in the world, there's no other companies in any other country in the world that can make the batteries at the cost that China can make the batteries at this point. So the Biden administration, if they do that, is just going to drive up costs for EVs, which are already way more expensive than petrol-driven cars. So I think they're trying to, obviously they're trying to have a balancing activity between stopping imports of things that the US also wants to build, but also they're not driving up costs too much just before an election.